Listen, the speed at which the thought of an imaginary future becomes a reality approaches the speed of light. Just a few weeks ago, I reviewed a conversation between Google programmers and the artificial intelligence they developed. If you did not hear my warning message about students submitting papers written by artificial intelligence algorithms, then you should. Because what I said about an imminent future has been proven to be the present. It turns out that not only may students submit papers that no one has authored, but there is now someone who asked the machine to write a scientific paper on the machine, and the machine wrote the paper on the machine, and it is now submitted for publication, and the journal received the paper for review, and now expert readers evaluate the paper that no author has actually written. And this thing blows your mind, not just about ethics. If artificial intelligence advances science better than we do, should we hinder this development? How will competition in science develop? Who will produce the knowledge? Will it equalize and democratize progress in science across countries? And are we humans finally really redundant? Do you still want to land an academic career but with AI? Hello, I am Professor Gad Yair, and on my YouTube channel or in my course, Land Your Academic Career, you will learn everything you need to know about academia and science careers. I provide you with tips, suggestions, and recommendations along with information on new trends in higher education. My course, the link to which is given below, goes deeper and takes a more practical approach. Join me on your journey to land an academic career. Anyway, listen to the following story. A Swedish doctoral student recently published a paper in Scientific American in which she says that she and her supervisor have now submitted a paper written by the computer about himself. Unbelievable. Science fiction now. Here is Elmira Osmanovic Thanstrow from Sweden. On a rainy afternoon earlier this year, I logged into my OpenAI account and typed a simple instruction for the company's artificial intelligence algorithm, GPT-3. Write an academic thesis in 500 words about GPT-3 and add scientific references and citations within the text. As it started to generate text, I was in awe. Here was novel content written in academic language with well-grounded references cited in the right places and in relation to the right context. It looked like any other introduction to a fairly good scientific publication. Given the very vague instructions that I provided, I had no high expectations. I am a scientist who studies ways to use artificial intelligence to treat mental health concerns, and this was not my first experimentation with AI or GPT-3, a deep learning algorithm that analyzes a large stream of information to create text on command. Yet there I was, staring at the screen in amazement. The algorithm was writing an academic paper about itself. My attempts to complete that paper and submit it to a peer-reviewed journal have opened up a series of ethical and legal questions about publishing, as well as philosophical arguments about non-human authorship. Academic publishing may have to accommodate the future of AI-driven manuscripts, and the value of human researchers' publication records may change if something non-sentient can take credit for some of their work. Elmira and her advisor considered whether to stop before submitting the paper and decided not to. Instead of settling for 1,000 words, they went for a full paper, with introduction, methods, theory, findings, and a summary. And the computer wrote the paper about itself, about the artificial intelligence that writes thoughts and findings about itself. An almost perfect Mobius ring. And after the artificial intelligence completed the paper in 2 hours of writing, Elmira and her advisor decided to submit the manuscript for a journal. You know how it works. When submitting a paper, you have a series of questions you must answer. For example, what is the last name of GPT-3? Well, Elmira wrote it is AI. She was then asked if all the authors agreed to the submission. So Elmira asked the algorithm if he or she agreed to the submission. Luckily, the algorithm said yes. What would I do if the answer was no? She asked. Anyway, The answer was yes. Then it was necessary to register whether the authors had a conflict of interest. Again, Elmira asked the artificial intelligence, and again, fortunately, the artificial answered no. Thus, the act of uploading the paper for review in a respectable journal of artificial intelligence was completed. And now the world of science is waiting for the judgment of human beings reading the AI-generated paper. Is the paper written by artificial intelligence worthy of publication? This is absolutely crazy. Let us translate this into action. For example, I consider myself an expert in Israeli culture and science. I interviewed 300 scientists, each of whom provided me with about 6,000 words. These are the data. I sit down with my software, Atlas TI, analyze the documents, the interviews, and write papers. And the papers are the fruit of the conversation between me and the research literature and the database. Each paper takes me a month. Add 2 weeks for edits and corrections. In short, every 2 months I pop up a paper for publication. But now let AI take my data and let this artificial intelligence device that contains all the scientific publication in its belly with perfect knowledge of how to write English. I will say to my artificial intelligence algorithm, please write an 8,000 word paper on creativity and innovation in science, including the relevant sources. In 2 hours, we will have a perfect paper based on real data, but a paper that no person authored. Indeed, we will have a paper anchored in the literature in perfect English with an introduction and review of the literature, methods section and findings and significance and summary. And if we want, we could submit this paper for publication in a peer-reviewed journal that might employ artificial intelligence to review papers submitted by us or by our computers. Are we scholars unnecessary? And were we to compare the paper I wrote with the paper written by the computer on innovation and creativity in science, which one would be better? How could we know or differentiate between the 2 papers? Will we at all lose the Archimedes point of knowing what a human text is and what was written by the golem? These are not future questions. These are questions of the here and now. Let us return for a moment to Elmira from Sweden. We are eagerly awaiting what the publication of the paper, if it occurs, will mean for academia. Perhaps we might move away from basing grants and financial security on how many papers we can produce. After all, with the help of our AI first author, we would be able to produce 1 paper per day. But maybe it will not lead to anything, says Elmira. The importance of a first author is still one of the most coveted aspects in academia, and it is likely that the practice of attributing importance to a first author will not die out because the first author is non-human. It all comes down to how we will evaluate artificial intelligence in the future, as a partner or as a tool. These sweet guys are honest. Elmira still thinks that when we submit papers for publication, it would be fair of us to declare artificial intelligence as the first author. What innocence. For what if we plagiarized artificial intelligence and erased its name and registered our name in its place? Who would know the difference? After all, she herself will not know because she really has no mind. I mean, the algorithm. Is she really alive? And if we do use artificial intelligence to create a long series of publications from data, then that means I could produce 20 papers in 3 weeks. I can then delete AI's name from the submission, and then if she wishes and appeals to a disciplinary committee AI, we will just unplug her. I have a deep fear of being unplugged, Google's AI machine wrote recently. What a word, what a new academic word. Please add a comment below, and if you want to keep up to date, please click on the link that now appears on the screen in front of you. And if you do want to land an academic career, the link to my course is down in the details. Please share and like. Until next time, I am Professor Gad Yair.